Hi everyone, I have Tim Williams from Myob here, and he's going to be sharing a little bit about his experience working with Operative Intelligence and using the root cause insight solution in their contact centers. Tim, thanks so much for offering to have a chat.
Thanks, Pete.
Tim, perhaps to kick things off, would you mind sharing a little bit about what your business does and
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So historically, MYOB has been a business accounting software package. So similar to your Intuits or Xeros of the world, but transforming into a company that really helps businesses manage more than just their accounting and really help them with the flow of money in and out of their business.
Yeah, fantastic. And Tim, I know you've kind of had a long career in customer operations and contact centers. Would you mind just sharing a little bit about yourself and your background as well?
Yeah, sure. So I actually started on the phones as a young aspiring photographer who was just trying to get his way through uni. Just worked my way through. So I got my photography degree and decided not to make the leap from film to digital and decided to pursue a career in call centers. So I have been, really doing all things call centers for 20 years now, from taking calls, training people, team leading, managing, and now head of operations. So I'm currently looking after about 500 seats across 3 different countries.
Yeah, great. No, definitely a big team. And I guess what we learned also, quite a kind of complex demand set in terms of the solutions that you need to provide for your customers.
Absolutely. I mean, our customers are dealing with compliance every day. So, whether it's paying people in terms of their employees correctly, whether it's, lodging compliance reporting accurately to the taxation office or the IRS, as they might be called elsewhere, it's vitally important that our software does what it needs to and that our customers understand how to use it. And as a tech support call center, we're often doing things that aren't just tech support. We're often, hand-holding people through really complex compliance events that really impact their ability to continue to run their business.
Yeah, definitely. Really kind of high impact, high priority service interactions. Tim, what was the problem that you and the team were kind of experiencing before you discovered OI?
Yeah, I mean, our problem will probably sound pretty familiar, I'm sure, to a lot of other call centers. We deal with about 1 million interactions a year, and the complexity around trying to understand what drives that level of demand is really challenging. The traditional kind of tools that you might use, like agent tagging and disposition codes, really only give you the level of quality that your systems are built around. So you're relying on the right options to be available to the agent, and then the agent really understanding the problem and being able to select the right one, and doing that accurately on every single interaction. And also, so the complexity that comes out of that is, as a management team, making sure that you're picking the right things, that you're keeping across the trends that are coming up, and that you're giving the right options for people to select. And then you're relying on the agents who are taking 50 calls a day to get every single one of those right. And the additional complexity around multi-issue problems and how having agents kind of separate what the customer's calling about from what they're actually solving the problem with. And so the challenge that gave us was on a number of fronts. As a senior manager, really, the quality of data we were getting out from those traditional tools was, limited my ability to influence other senior stakeholders in the product team or go-to-market or engineering to focus on solving the right problems that would reduce our cost to serve. But as an operational manager, and for my managers, the challenge of knowing what levers they could pull to take the heat out of demand. So, whether it's better self-help content or, whether it's different IVR journeys or whether it's better training at our level 1 interactions, really not having that level of insight around what was driving our demand, really limited our ability to change the demand profiles that were coming in. We kind of looked beyond the traditional, agent tagging kind of tools and looked at things like speech analytics, but we just weren't getting the kind of results that we would look at and think, yeah, that feels right. It kind of lines up with the kind of problems we're seeing. It lines up with what's in our customer set. It's just the data we were getting just couldn't connect in a way that made sense and helped us drive the right kind of decisions.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, Tim, what was different about the OI product in the context of this problem and challenge?
Yeah, so the OI process for me really combined technology and human decision making. So the challenge that we had was, the traditional tools really relied on human decision making, which is very difficult to scale, right? You can really only get to a certain level without burning a whole lot of resource. And on the flip side, relying totally on speech analytics tools didn't give us the level of human insight to be able to really test the results we were getting and to really refine them down to the level that we needed to. And so the operative intelligence data that we saw coming back that really kind of pulled the human insights and human decision making alongside technology and systematic way of applying that at scale to a really large data set was something we hadn't seen before from any of the tools that we've used.
Yeah, brilliant. And in terms of the what was the process like from, identifying that there was better insight that was needed through to ultimately kind of being delivered those insights? What was that process working with OI like compared to other solutions that you've worked with in the past?
Yeah, really easy actually. We really just fed in all the data that we had. We made ourselves available to answer a few questions, and those questions were pretty minimal, to be honest. I mean, it wasn't questions around the calls. It was questions around, what are our wage costs and those sort of things that help the tool to identify the cost associated with each driver. And so the amount of time we actually had to spend, providing that information outside of pulling the data, which is a different challenge based around some of the number of systems that we run, was much lower than a lot of the other consulting engagements where you're normally spending big chunks of time in a room. You're dedicating a whole lot of management overhead to giving the consultants the time they need. This was really light touch. I think all up, I probably allocated maybe 2 hours of time to a really big engagement, and my management team probably spent about the same. So it was really light touch compared with a lot of those consulting engagements that you'd normally see.
Yeah, fantastic. Tim, can you take us to the moment when you realised that OI was actually solving your problem, this challenge around understanding kind of your demand and where those big levers are for improving?
Yeah. Well, the big one for me is probably the time, the point in time where it really hit me, because I kind of saw the results and got taken through the dashboards, and for me it impacted pretty quickly how powerful it could be. But I'm pretty close to the problem, right? So I was expecting to see something that was pretty good. It was the conversation I had with one of our product managers, who is very product centric, had come from call centers, many years ago, but wasn't close enough to be looking at the data every day and looking at the call drivers. That person had seen a whole bunch of other reporting we'd done and a whole lot of other analysis and just never really trusted it, the same as I didn't. Was always kind of skeptical about the data we put in front of him. And we put the operative intelligence dashboards in front of this same person. And the first reaction was, how did you find that much management time to allocate to these guys for them to get it right? And it was like, we didn't. He said, okay, well, how much time did they spend with your SMEs and, validating the call drivers? And I said, they didn't spend any. And he was blown away. He said, we've been trying to tackle this problem for 4 years now. And these guys have come in and in 2 weeks given us the best data set we've ever seen.
Yeah, fantastic. That's kind of a great example, just kind of, being able to have kind of, more data-driven conversations with those enablement teams. Obviously, product is the example that you just gave.
Yeah.
Can you also tell us, outside of that conversation, what does life look like now that you have access to this data and it's kind of validating a lot of what you believe to be happening in the contact center?
Yeah. Well, we've recut some of the product deliverables, right? So we were always trying to push for prioritization of issues that would resolve or reduce our cost to serve. And because we didn't really have data that any of us trusted, it was really challenging to trade off some of those UI improvements and defect enhancements and those sort of different things that the product teams don't get excited by, but we in operations do get excited by. Trading off those things against the new features that all the engineers want to work on. And so we've always really struggled with that. Now that we had data that we all kind of believed in, and we could actually take insights from and say, well, if we fix this problem, it's going to save us this much money. We fix this problem, we're going to save this much money. You know, that's totally changed how we now prioritize, how we now work with the product teams to prioritize the work that gets done. And increase in, you know, time spent on problems versus time spent on features, which is, as a support manager, is the holy grail.
Yeah, fantastic. Tim, thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking some time out to speak with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon, and look
Thanks,
forward
Pete.
to speaking again soon. Thanks, Tim.
Sounds good. Cheers.